Hello random people on the internet, my name is Banana, and I am a little sick today, but that's not going to stop me from putting out another episode of Skyblock News, because today we got another design thread talking about some insane changes to armor and weapons and modifiers. So if this video keeps you informed or if it helps you out, I'd really appreciate a subscription. It's the best way you can support the channel, and I mean, it's free. Why wouldn't you do it? Let's get right into this insane video. If you don't know how these design threads work, they're basically in the process of making 1.0 right now. They aren't going to release it anytime soon, but they are talking about the ideas because they want the community's feedback. There's been 5 of these threads before this one. This is the 6th one, and today's is about weapons, armor, and modifiers. So starting off, jumping into the thread, immediately they go with the meatiest thing, I think, and they are adding 4 new armor slots. Yup, 4. Cloaks, gauntlets, belts, and necklaces are all planned to release in 1.0. And, what the heck? The first thing they explain in the regards of the 4 armor slots is that they think that 4 pieces of armor right now that we have is not enough to fill the MMORPG character customization that they really want to have. And that completely makes sense. Skyblock is limited by vanilla Minecraft's armor, and it makes the customization a little more boring. So adding 4 more slots is definitely going to spice up that part of the game. And secondly, they want to have the 4 pieces that currently exist drop from the same loot table, similar to how they do right now, where you're getting superior armor from Superior Dragon. And they said that when you obtain a piece of armor, the other 3 should be obtained the same way. It seems obvious, but it could very well have been different. They decided to make armor sets whole because they look nice and make each combat content feel more rewarding. It does have negative aspects because when they come up with a new type of content, they're always left wondering what new rewards to create, because the best armor sets in the game are supposed to drop from combat islands. And then they say, yes, the Nether revamp will reward the new best set in the game, which is Pog in general right there. And the rest of the content is supposed to reward niche armor sets that are particularly good for that content alone. So let's say we want to work on a Colosseum revamp. What are we going to reward there? An accessory or pet? Those are great rewards, but we have to be cautious not using them everywhere. So what if the Colosseum was rewarding belts instead? This is simply an example, but in general in 1.0, we plan on making the loot/reward system more diverse. In short, 4 new armor pieces are getting added. The wardrobe is going to be changed to function with them. The profile menu is going to be updated. Some of the new armor pieces are going to have visual representations, and the armor pieces will be rewarded everywhere. The best versions will be from specific content. We know already that they plan on making foraging give the best cloaks, so that is already a thing. But we don't know where necklaces, gauntlets, or belts are going to actually come from and be rewarded the best of the best versions. I think that this is really cool. I think that at heart, an armor piece is pretty much just a really good talisman, if you really think about it that way, because talismans are giving you stats, they're applying to you, and that's all armor really is. So this is going to be a cool system as long as they make each armor piece unique, and making the sets more unique is going to be pretty cool as well. But yeah, that is a huge thing. The 8 pieces is a lot more than 4, guys, so that's going to be a really big change. The next change is very close to the last one, that is armor set bonuses. They said that yes, some armor sets are going to have up to 8 pieces. That is insane by itself, that there would be a full set of 8 pieces. And they want to change the way set bonuses work because of that. They're not sure that every set bonus will change, but in many occasions they're going to change it from needing all pieces to instead only requiring 2 pieces and scaling with every extra piece. So if you look at Wise Dragon armor, they want to change it to where it's going to go every piece of armor you're going to get a little bit more. So you can see 2 pieces is 8%, 3 pieces is 18, and 4 pieces is 33. They believe that this system allows them to create 8-piece set bonuses while still enabling interesting builds. I think that this is pretty cool. So basically, in my head, I'm just thinking that you could mix and match a lot of different armor sets to have a much more interesting build set up. If you were able to afford having some wise pieces. You could be a better mage, but you could also have some better pieces that are going to give you different bonuses that are going to be more helpful. I don't know. This definitely is just helping the build diversity, because not requiring the whole set is going to make it a lot more interesting, spreading out just a lot of the things in the game. And already no one really uses set bonuses because of all the helmets in the game that are so damn good. So just seeing the set bonuses get split up like that could be really, really cool. And seeing what a full 8-piece set bonus could look like, whoo, that's going to be nuts. Next change is pretty small, but they're just going to make more health instead of defense, because health is way more interesting. Health is a number that you can see and actually know what it does. Defense, as you get higher and higher, it's just going to like very, very minutely increase your percentage that you can tank from people. It's not as cool, so they want to put more health into the game. They want to preserve global defensive power of armors, but transfer more of that power towards health. This isn't only aimed towards armors. Reforges will also be granting more health, and they're going to monitor healing sources and buff them if they feel necessary to fit the higher health pools. So that's just cool. It's going to be helpful against true damage, obviously, where you're going to tank a little more because you got a little more health. But yeah, that's not that big of a change, but bigger number, better person. Next up, we're talking about enchantments. They say that the subject of enchanting is going to be brought up again in a future thread, but they are on the topic of modifiers, so there are a couple things to suggest already. For one, they're planning on adding way more enchantments, defensive enchants, supportive and technical ones, way more options for offensive enchants, etc. However, each item is going to have a set amount of enchants they're able to hold, and potentially a set amount of each type. X offensive, Y defensive. For example, enchantments will need to be balanced, mostly buffs to all the weaker ones. They don't know the details yet because frankly it's quite hard to tell perfect implementation of this system without testing a few versions. Locking a set number of enchants on items allows them to add an infinity of enchants without having to worry about a player's power level reaching the stratosphere. It also allows them to buff enchants that are currently very weak and make them interesting choices. They understand that there will still be a meta and there will be specific builds on each item for each playstyle and for each stage of the progression, but at least this system allows more diversity and enables new types of rewards. And it is worth noting that One For All will receive changes, including nerfs, before 1.0. Thank God. One For All has been absolutely destroying enchants. It makes enchanting for your books barely even worth it unless you're selling some market manipulated crap. But One For All is really annoyingly good. So seeing One For All get some nerfs, that's gonna be beautiful. Next up, they talk about the accessory bag. They say that accessories are a healthy part of the progression, but in the past, they tried to reduce their percentage of total power of players and make it easier to change builds. So they're making a couple changes, and this one I'm a little confused by, like when I was reading through this, but it does make sense. It's sort of cool, and we got to see it in practice before we can truly judge it. So firstly, applying a Reforged Stone to the accessory bag is going to permanently unlock the Reforge. It means that once a Reforged Stone has been applied, you'll always be able to swap builds anytime. Goated. That's really dope. Second, Reforges won't apply to accessories anymore directly. Instead, you'll only be able to apply the Reforge to the bag. The bag is going to have a Reforge point system, which is essentially a formula that adds up all the rarity of the accessories in the bag. The stats you gain from the bag will then be the Reforge applied to that bag multiplied by the amount of Reforge points, and on top of that, you will gain a certain number of stats to spend completely freely based on how many accessories you unlocked, so you can customize your build exactly the way you want. Okay, and then the third thing, the price to reforge the bag won't scale with the amount of accessories inside anymore. It's going to be a fixed price. Fourth, they are in the process of rewriting the bag system so they can safely add extra space without risking players getting wiped in the process and having to refund everyone like it happened last time. And yes, there's going to be more bag upgrades so that you can always put all your accessories inside. Lastly, they are toying with the idea to introduce new special keystone accessories that have more impactful effects, but can only a few can be used at the same time. However, a lot of the 1.0 design is already focused on player decisions, and we fear that we are about to reach a choice overload. So while this idea is potentially interesting, it probably won't be around until we believe it's safe to add, or might come a few patches after 1.0. So I like that last change. That is basically like a Destiny exotic weapon or exotic armor piece where it's going to be a huge choice and you can only use certain ones at a certain time. So I think that's a cool idea. And I don't like that all of the accessory bag is going to have the same reforge, because like if you look at a lot of these, like you can see I'm running strong on all of my legendaries and mythics, but then you can see I'm running a mix of shaded and strange on my epics, and then just shaded on these ones. Obviously, I wouldn't be super harmed by running the same reforge across the whole bag, but we'll just have to see this system in play, because they could give you just a bajillion stats that you can spend for free when you have a max talisman bag, and I could be complaining for no reason when they're going to increase my damage. It's really the kind of thing that you need to see in action before you can truly judge it. It could be a bit weird, could be awesome. We just got to wait and see. Next up is a pretty big one. There's going to be some changes to the Essence system. Currently, you can turn regular items into dungeon items with Essence, and you can add dungeon stars on dungeon items. They want to remove the ability to turn regular items into dungeon items, meaning any item that isn't found in dungeons will now have their default stats when you enter a dungeon, and instead you'll have to progress in dungeons using only gear found in said dungeons. I'm just going to talk about this one right now. RIP Terminator, dude. What? This is an insane change. And I assume that a lot of people are going to be dumping Terminators onto the market, because what is this thing useful for if it is not a dungeon item? It's literally just such a bad weapon for outside of dungeons, because no one uses bows. Bows aren't good outside of dungeons. They're good inside of dungeons because their stats get yeeted through the air, and the archer class gives an insane amount of bow damage. So Terminators probably dying a little bit. That is a very scary thing, because even if they, like, I'm going to talk about how you can add stars to anything in the game in a second. Even if you can add stars to anything in the game, the main thing that's helpful with a dungeon item is going to be your catacombs level, increasing the stats of all of your dungeon items by up to 465%. So you're missing out on so much stats by not having Terminator be a dungeon item, or having that's pretty much the only thing that's used in dungeons that isn't a dungeon item already. But it's gonna be an insane drop in damage in there, and I don't know how people are gonna do master mode that well if Terminator is not gonna be in there. So that's pretty annoying. I'm gonna continue reading now. However, they plan on extending the Essence system to the rest of the game. Stars are going to be able to be applied to almost all gear in the game. Stars are going to work outside of dungeons, and their effect will be visible directly in the lore of an item. New Essence types will be added. Regular gear is going to be salvageable, so you can obtain all types of Essence easily. A confirmation menu is going to be added when salvaging important or expensive items, and now they're going to explain it. Dungeons has a lot of gear. They say it has plenty enough gear to sustain itself. If they realize that some parts of progression become too hard, they might buff specific dungeon sets and weapons, but they're confident the gameplay won't suffer from the changes. The concept of salvaging items to turn Essence into stars is working in dungeons, and that system is deeply needed for the rest of the game. Sometimes the supply of a gear becomes so high, it's better to sell the NPC than in the AH. This also ruins progression for early game players who can buy items they need for extremely low prices and don't even get to experience the process of obtaining them. So Skyblock needs more systems to lower the supply of gear. The museum is going to help through a similar system, as it creates soulbound items that you aren't able to sell, and the salvaging system will also lower the supply. It should help regulate the economy by adding this Essence system change. I'm definitely down for stars to become a just integral part of the game. Just seeing more stats on armor is going to be cool, and seeing more ways to get stats on armor is also cool. I'm just very worried for that Terminator not being a dungeon item. Am I going to get refunded on my Master Stars or something here? Because I spent a couple $100 million on those, and that is pretty annoying if they don't get refunded and they just delete them from the game because Terminator go bye-bye. So, yeah, they're changing the Essence system. We got 2 more changes to talk about, and the first one is that they're going to add a system that makes it easier to apply modifiers. There are quite a few modifiers in Skyblock, obviously. There's reforges, stars, enchantments, hot potato books, gemstones. Maxing out items takes a bit. It can be tedious. It can be just annoying, even if you have all of the stuff. And they want to make that process the opposite. They want to make it short and simple. So they're going to add a new system that's going to let you place any type of gear inside, and from there you'll be able to apply all modifiers you own, no matter where they are in your inventories, craft modifiers if you have their components, and purchase all modifiers that you're missing at market price, similar to Bazaar. So it's not going to work for Iron Man people. That last part, it's not going to work for Iron Man. Screw Iron Man. They like the concept of improving gear a lot, but players who spend hours grinding these processes shouldn't spend 50% of their time trying to remember what they were doing to begin with. They want to make it so you spend a few minutes applying all of it on your items, not a few hours. So that's a cool change. I am not opposed to making everything more simple. Right now, you got to go to a gemstone grinder, you got to go to an anvil, you got to go to a reforge anvil to throw on your recombobulator. There's a lot of annoying things that have to be done to max out any armor piece or weapon. So just putting that all in one zone and allowing people to just do everything at one spot is definitely going to be really nice. And then being able to buy ones that you're missing at market price, I'm interested to see what that even means, but it's gonna be cool nonetheless, just because it's gonna be the one-stop shop for maxing all of your armor and weapons, and that's just poggers. Last change, they're going to re-evaluate the rarity of items. On release, only a few items were legendary, but quickly, the majority of items in the game became either epic or legendary, so much that legendary rarity basically lost its prestige. A lot of items are going to keep their rarity, such as superior dragon armor in a lot of those endgame sets, but many items are going to see their rarity scaled down by 1 tier to better represent the spread of items in the current state of the game. I can't wait to see people running around in epic young armor or something. It's just going to be funny, because I understand that rebalance. Literally, if I go into my menu here, you can see I got so much mythic stuff. It's crazy. There's basically no meaning behind the word mythic or legendary, so seeing that go down, that's going to be just a welcome change. Sorry that you guys had to sit through me being sick for this forum thread. I got a stuffy nose, but I still wanted to get the news out there because this is a pretty nuts forum thread. The 4 armor slots are just the tip of the iceberg, and there's so much stuff coming. It's going to be really interesting seeing how all of this turns out. And I just can't wait to see it. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments about this forum thread. Definitely go respond on the forum thread itself as well, because that's what they want. They want the feedback so that they can make this update as pog as possible. But that's going to be it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. Hope it kept you informed. And I will talk to you guys in the next video. Peace out.